Let's talk about property management when you own rental income properties in the US. Now, the first thing I want to touch base on in this lesson here is it is illegal for you to manage your own unit, okay? Because by managing your own unit, you are taking away the job of an American. So, what you should do is find a good property manager that you can trust who will take care of so many duties where your investment will become more passive, and that is the key to making money in US real estate. So before we go into the duties and the costs you should occur while you have a property manager, let's look at the documents that are in place, okay? So the first thing you'll notice is that a lease agreement between the tenant and the property manager will exist. This will outline all the duties and responsibilities of the tenant as well as the property manager to the tenant during the agreement of his lease. It will give all the amounts that the tenant needs to pay, what fees involves, what are the costs, and a lot of times in most states you can collect a security deposit. A security deposit will be in place to actually be used should the tenant damage the unit. It's held in a separate account and can range from a month's rent or extra depending on what is agreed with the property manager. So this agreement will outline all terms and conditions that the tenant needs to follow as he occupies your unit. The next agreement is the management agreement, and this will outline all the duties and responsibilities of your property manager as well as the fees that he charges. It will also outline all the duties that you should have as an owner so that you will actually know exactly what to expect from yourself, what to expect from your property manager. So make sure to read those thoroughly, and this will make sure that you have a solid relationship with your property manager. So let's look at some of the things that a property manager will do for you. Well, number one, he will collect the rents for you, okay? So every month he'll make sure that he's collecting the full amount promised by the lease agreement from the tenant. Should there be any delays or should there be any problems with collections, that is the duty of the property manager. So you don't need to be looking and running after tenants. He will be taking care of that. He will also screen tenants when you're looking for a new tenant. So he will be the one to advertise and screen the tenants, make sure that they're people that you want or he decides that he wants to deal with your rental unit. And you will have a final say to approve these tenants, but he will do the proper measures not to waste your time and bring only qualified tenants to you. He will renew leases when they are up with tenants that are in place or replace the tenant whenever his lease is due. So you don't have to think about all of that. He will be taking care of that, and he will also inspect your unit regularly. So by doing visits to the units, he can make sure that the tenant is not doing any damages, it's in good condition, and your investment is protected. If a Barbie doll gets flushed down the toilet at 2 in the morning, your telephone will not ring. He will answer to tenant inquiries in a prompt manner, and that will build a relationship between the property manager and the tenant. So any inquiries are handled by your property manager, not you. And the last one of his duties is, should a tenant be in place which is not paying or is not following the agreements based on the lease, he'll be in charge of conducting the eviction process should that happen. Now obviously this is not something we hope to see, but at least you have peace of mind knowing that a professional will be in place and dealing with these issues should they arise. So there's obviously a cost to all this. So let's see, what are the costs you should be looking at when you're dealing with a property manager. So number one, if he's placing a new tenant, there's usually a fee for that. A lot of times it can be 1 month's rent, sometimes it's 8% of the annual income, so that always depends, but you want to be fully aware that he will have a fee on tenant placement. Some property managers collect them up front, some people collect them on tenant placements. I tend to favor the property managers who collect on the placement because that's a pay for performance. If a lease is renewed, sometimes they will charge somewhere around half month rent or 3% of the annual income. With a new lease renewed, you have a tenant that is not causing you any vacancies. This is really good. If there's an incentive for lease renewal, it prevents you from having a property manager who just wants to put in as many new tenants as possible to collect his 1 month's rent. So that's really good to have. On a monthly basis, your property manager collects 10% of the rental income. Excuse me. And this sometimes will vary depending on the number of units you manage with him, etc., etc. But do know that there is a 10% charge usually. If there's any repair or maintenance being done to the unit, he will coordinate everything to send the right contractors in to do the right repairs, and there's usually a repair oversight fee of 5 to 15% of the total bill, so you want to be aware of that. If you coordinate the repair yourself, you can do so to save that amount, but oftentimes for the lack of for the peace of mind and the little hassle for him to coordinate everything, it's well worth the oversight fee. And this one is if ever the property manager sells the unit, so if he's a licensed broker and he sells the unit to the tenant, he will charge a buyer's commission. So you want to be aware of that, and it would be outlined in the management agreement. Now, not all property managers do this, but some will charge a marketing fee. So that's a fee for all the advertising costs that he has to incur for your unit. I would say try to avoid that, but I mean, if it is one of the better property management companies in the area, you could expect that. Make sure that all fees balance out, and if there is a marketing fee, I would expect that the placement costs are lower and the monthly management fees might be lower as well. So that's it for property management. If you have any questions, feel free to send them in, but that covers pretty much what you should expect. So if you're going to be owning a property, have the property manager in place. They'll take care of everything, and you'll be able to be on your way to own real estate, get cash flow, and ride the wave towards appreciation. Thank you.